Welcome to the Momentous talk show for leading women, and I am so excited today. I have got in the studio or on my show, travel counselor, travel expert, Gabriela Rogati-Pinches. Welcome to the Momentous talk show, Gabriela.
Hi, Mo. Thank you for having me.
Beautiful. And thank you yet again for joining me on the Momentous Talk Show for Leading Women. And what a time for you to join me, because obviously we know things are changing from where we're coming from. So we are going to be exploring a lot more around your job. But tell us, what is your job role? I have here that you are a travel expert, and you are a travel expert in corporate travel, with a niche in groups, meetings, incentives, corporate events. Can you tell me a bit more and explain what is your job role? If you can explain to our viewers.
Sure, yes. So we are travel counselors, and travel counselors are a global franchise. So there are 1,900 travel counselors in 7 countries, and we are supported by around 350 head office staff in Manchester. But we are global. We are in UK, in Ireland, in Belgium, Netherlands, South Africa, UAE, and Australia. And indeed, we specialize in leisure and corporate travel. We are all independent business owners under the franchise, and we all own our own businesses. Sorry, that is a fire alarm test, as it happens when we do this.
That's fine. You carry on. Yes.
Yeah, so what we do is we support our clients with very personalized travel plans. With us, it's very personal. We get to understand each client individually. For leisure clients, we become friends, and for corporate travel, we become part of your team.
Perfect, perfect. So then, Gabriela, if I may ask, what is the difference between your job role to that of a travel agent? Because I know obviously a lot of people would be familiar with a travel agent, but what is the difference between a travel counselor, your job role, and a travel agent? What is the difference?
Sure. So there are quite a few differences, and we do pride ourselves on calling ourselves very different and very unique. So what we do there is different. We are all independent business owners. So for us, the client is at the heart of what we do. If we don't have clients, we don't have a business. So we think as an entrepreneur, we think as a business owner, we think very differently than employees do. We are all home workers, so we run our businesses from home. Obviously, some have an office where they operate from and so on. But what that does is it gives us the flexibility to be available for our clients 24/7. So if a client is only available to chat in the evening, for an example, because they are really busy at work, or at the weekend because that's when they are relaxed and then they can start talking about the travel plans. If a corporate company is traveling and they have people on the ground at the weekend and they have a problem, we can help. So this is what is very different. And I think especially in the COVID crisis, we have really shown how different we have been, because we are at the end of a phone call, at the end of an email. We are all at home, so we understand very well the situation of working from home, homeschooling, everything. While for a lot of companies, employees have been put on furlough. For a lot of companies, you wait for hours to try and get in touch with them, or you send an email and you don't hear anything for weeks. We are here, we keep in touch with our clients, and we are always supporting them every step of the way.
Yeah, I can certainly hear from what you're saying. You're talking a bit more around individualized. So you treat every client as an individual, and you try and form that relationship with them. Is that what I'm hearing? So then going to COVID, you mentioned COVID. I know that, obviously the travel industry has been hugely impacted by the COVID-19. What has been the situation for you as a company, for you as a global travel expert? What has that meant for you?
Yes, so of course, the crisis is global. The crisis has affected travel quite quite hard. That is the only way to put it. So since March, of course, the FCO advice has been against all but essential travel. And we are hoping for some very good news this afternoon on that, but I know we'll touch on it later. So what have we been doing? We have been here for our clients. We have changed their travel plans if needs be. We have cancelled some of the trips if they really had to cancel. We have supported them with advice. We have supported them with refunds as and where that was appropriate. We have actually helped our clients on both, on a personal level and with a holiday plans, and we have actually won an award through Martin Lewis for money saving expert. We have won the highest scoring, 91%, the highest scoring of how we dealt with the COVID situation, and the next company in line had a score of 70%.
Wow.
So that makes us very proud. And in the COVID crisis, we have also got the Queen's Award for the third time for international trade. So as hard as it has been, I think we are coming out of it, and we will be even stronger, hopefully.
Wow, that's really amazing to hear. And certainly I had some travel books just before the COVID hit, and one of the most frustrating things for me was actually being able to contact those travel agents to say, obviously that's before I met you, so I shouldn't have this problem going forward. But one of the challenges was actually getting in touch with those travel agents. You were kept on queues. There was no response, not get back. So a lot of people have experienced this, I'm sure. And congratulations on the awards, the Queen's Award, and
Thank you.
and all this. This is really good for you. So tell me then, how would you help somebody who's looking to engage with yourself as a global travel expert? How would you engage with them? For example, they want to travel. How would you engage with them?
So because we are a very personal business, most of our clients come through referrals and repeat. So word of mouth is really, really strong. A client would use our services, they would be really impressed, and then they would talk about us to their friends, to their family, to their work colleagues, and then they would get in touch with us. At that point, again, it's a very personal conversation that happens. In normal situations, we would invite them for a coffee, or if they were local, or if there were a corporate account that would like to come on board, we would go and visit them at their offices to meet the team. Generally, we would take one of our corporate business development managers from head office with us as well, just to present the global power, the global buying power that we have, 650 million pounds worth of turnover. So this is how we would engage to start with. At leisure level, we would just understand very well what that person or that couple is like, what do they like, how do they travel, what type of travel have they done in the past. So for us, it's really not about just jumping into quoting something. We really need to understand what boxes you would like ticked. So every single person is completely different in terms of expectations, how they like to travel, what they prioritize. And obviously from when I looked for you, so we like to really get it right from the beginning. We wouldn't book something unless we thought that was really the best possible trip that we can offer. And at corporate level, we would have a really thorough conversation in terms of what corporate travel needs they have, how do they currently do it. They would run some reports, they would talk us through them, how often do they book, where do they book to, who is in charge of the travel arrangements, so the PA, or there is an office manager, or whether they are using someone else at the moment, but they might not be too happy with the service. And then we start collaborating, and it's always very, if I say informal, it's not right, because it's obviously formal, but it's very relaxed. We don't tie you into contracts that are for certain amounts of time or anything like that. It's all based on the relationship. So we could book a part of the business that you have, or we could book absolutely everything.
Mhm, mhm. Absolutely amazing. And thank you for sharing this. And this is certainly something until recently I wasn't aware is available. So, if you're a viewer and you're watching us right now, I'm talking to Gabriela, and she is a global travel expert, and she works for travel counselors. And it's a multi award winning company that actually helps you to be able to plan your travel, be it as a company, as a group, as an individual, as a couple. This is what we are discussing currently. So then, thank you for joining, if you're just joining us. So then, Gabriela, just explain, if we are looking at travel now, what does it mean? Because certainly a lot of people have been locked in for a while now. So
Pretty much everyone, right?
it's
Almost.
yes, and I know so many people who would have, gone away two, 3 times by now, but obviously because of the lockdown, they weren't able to do that. So, what is your advice now? What have you got to say in regards to the travel options available for people?
So I don't think we could have timed the show any better. And obviously, for the viewers, we set this date in the diary over a month ago. So we absolutely didn't know exactly what will happen in the travel industry by this point. But today is the key date when we are hopefully getting government news, government announcements in regards to the conversation that started around air bridges and how travel will look like. Now, whether they will be called air bridges or exactly the wording around it, that is to see this afternoon. But ultimately, we estimate around 60 and 75 countries or thereabouts to open, which will mean free travel in terms of quarantine. Obviously, currently, when you travel back to the UK, you have to quarantine. So the government hopefully will be making some announcements around that as well. And then, of course, once that is in place and certain countries will reopen and UK citizens and everyone that lives in UK can travel there, they will be able to get travel insurance as well, because if the FCO advice is lifted and the FCO advice is that non-essential travel is allowed, then automatically you could get travel insurance and you will be covered. So that is, of course, something that our clients have been waiting for. In terms of how everyone will travel and where, I think it's a really personal choice. So it really depends on your individual family situation, individual. You might have young children, you might have elderly parents living with you. Everyone is completely different. You might have been shielding, but small steps. So some clients are booking UK cottages, or we could cover a really varied product on the UK market. Camper vans, cottages, lodges, more active holidays, tailor-made, literally anything for anyone. Some people will choose to go abroad, but they will still like to be quite protective. So they might drive, they might take the ferry, but then still book a villa or a cottage, so they keep themselves to themselves. Other people cannot wait for the flights to be open, and they will be booking somewhere where they fly. But there will be lots of rules, of course, to protect, which will be announced. So in terms of how air travel will happen, airport arrangements, everything in terms of how to make it as safe as possible. But ultimately, it's an individual decision. So there is no right or wrong.
Right. So thank you. A lot of information that's come through there. Certainly, I've heard you talk about air bridges, which is what I want to delve into. So, what are air bridges? So I can kind of break it down, because there was a lot of information that will be useful for the viewers to understand and to know. So, let's talk about the air bridges. What is that? And, how can, people, I don't even know what an air bridge is. So.
Well, it's definitely something new to us as well. It's a bit like the word furlough, Definitely didn't hear it before COVID. So, and again, we haven't got an 100% answer from the government. And I think that the key message that we as travel counsellors get across is that we will always follow the government advice. But the rumours or the partial information that we were hearing was that the way that the air bridges will work are countries being divided in 3 different categories. So green, amber, and red. And for an example, they were saying that the green and amber categories will mean no quarantine in either direction, while the red categories might have still been allowed to travel there, but they would have had to quarantine for 14 days when they came back to UK. Now, this information is already starting to be a bit out of date, because we thought it was going to be Monday that they make the announcements, then we thought it was going to be Wednesday, then we think that it's today. We really hope. But ultimately, I think they're just trying to finalize the final terms and conditions, and whether they will call them air bridges now, or whether they will just say they're not called air bridges anymore, but these 75 countries are free. You can travel there, they can travel here, and there's no quarantine in either direction. That's what we hope for. Of course, that is still to be confirmed. And what we also hope for is that the FCO advice follows straight away. So if we get told that these 75 countries on this list are now free movement to go in terms of COVID, then we hope that the FCO also lifts the advice against all but essential travel, because ultimately we need the FCO advice to be that it's okay to travel there.
That's excellent. So certainly, you know, Gabs, you're working within the government guidelines, advice, and FCO, so you're governed by those
Absolutely.
organizations to actually help you to move forward. So, you know, you've got somebody who's just about heading off because they've been locked in for the past 3 months, and they're thinking of traveling, like myself. You know,
well, you are tomorrow.
Kingdom. Yeah. So, you know, what sort of options are you offering those clients, and you know, is it safe to do so? And if it is, because obviously, if we can travel in the United Kingdom, what options are available for those type of clients?
Yes, yeah, and again, I think it comes down to the individual client. And can I give yourself as an example?
Oh, sure.
I won't divulge where you're going, but I will just use it as an example. So obviously, for yourself, you know, you wanted to look into a cottage. We went through lots of options. We really like to understand what type of experience people want. So is it a lodge? Is it a cottage? Is it a camper van? Is it an active break like cycling or walking? Is it something pre-organized? Is it something tailor-made where you actually do some sightseeing and so on? Or would you just like a relaxing break? Would you like a hot tub? Would you like the swimming pool to be open? And of course, as we found out, the swimming pool will be open, but the COVID rules will be with pre-booked time slots for the 4 lodges or 5 lodges that share the swimming pool. So I think everyone is adapting to the current situation. They will all have to pass. So at Travel Counsellors, we only use suppliers that are certified and go through risk assessment and full checks. So we will never ever book someone somewhere that we don't know is completely regulated. Now, in terms of COVID, everyone is adapting in their own particular way, and they have to make sure they respect all the regulations. So, i.e., if you do open your swimming pool, for an example, clearly you have to clean, you have to have certain rules between the clients that use them. If you have a cottage, you probably have a timeline of how long does it have to be between clients that stay in there. And I think everyone is just adapting to the situation, and as long as they respect the rules, that's what matters. But we just talk through exactly what they're looking for. We then come up with a few suggestions, a few options. We always make sure that the client is very comfortable with what they're booking, and they're 100% convinced that that is the right one for them. Not the right one for us as agents, because sometimes agents, I think, get really biased in selling product that they think is right for other people. We do it the reverse way. So we will talk to you until we understand what is right for you. What are you trying to get? And then we match the product with what we book for you. And then we send you, of course, a list of terms and conditions, a list of things to check. And only after you're happy with everything, we go ahead and make the booking.
Absolutely, and I will confess to the seamless service I've had to date with yourself, Gabs, and I'm
Thank
absolutely
you.
impressed. And I'm not an easy person to please, so I'm really, really excited, and really, really that's a comment for yourself and a compliment, because
Thank you.
I just got the seamless service, but I actually got a thank you card today. So how beautiful, and it reads. DMO, it's very personalized. So I will confirm again that you're doing that, what you've just said. Thank you for your first booking. And again, I'm excited. I'm not going to read the rest, but this is a classic example that you're not just saying things. And sometimes I think we get carried away with our sales pitches. We say all these glossy things, but actually, when it comes to service delivery, it's non-existent. So certainly I will be singing the praises about your work, and I'm really, really excited for my break coming up.
Thank
Although
you.
I carry a list of PPE.
Yes, and that is something that we can mention, So of course, when your cottage got confirmed and everything, we always send instructions ahead of how you need to contact the cottage owner and establish, of course, a check-in time and so on, and how they will give you the key and everything. And the cottage has sent through a set list of things you would like to bring. What are the new rules around COVID, especially as travel just restarts tomorrow, so you will be the first clients that they
Wow,
will have. So yes, they have to be very careful with what they do. We have to be very careful, but ultimately people would like to travel.
definitely,
So as
definitely.
long as we can make it safely, definitely.
Exactly. And I suppose that is the way forward. It's all about staying safe, and even though we know the country's being open, but actually it's about being safe. But then if you're listening to on the Momentous Talk Show, I'm talking to Gabriela, and she's a global travel expert. She works for travel counselors, her own business as well, and she's talking about some of the things you can do, some of the options available for you to travel locally, and what's coming ahead should the government open up to travel, and we're just waiting on that information to be updated. But there are other options if you're thinking about traveling and you've just about had enough of being locked in for the past 3 months and working, because what I've found again, Gabs, is that we tend to work more when you work at home. Have you found that?
That is a really good question to ask travel counselors because we are all home based.
Exactly.
So for us, so of course there's the pros and cons, but mainly pros. As a business, we were very quick to react to the crisis because as 1900 travel business owners, we are all based from home. Of course, some do work in offices, but they have everything set up at home as well. So as a business, we didn't feel any stress from that point of view. And in terms of the head office staff, they were very quick to also start working from home because the company had the platform already. So that was definitely a major plus. In terms of working from home, I see it as a major plus. Of course, in normal times, nothing stops me from going and working in a cafe or in a shared office or with another travel counsellor in their home or in their office, or but ultimately I've been working from home for the past 8 years.
Mhm.
So for me, I just get into the zone. I just block off time. I sometimes put my phone on airplane mode just so I'm not disturbed, and you just focus on work and you make it happen. Of course, in COVID we have also had children at home. So I think that has been a challenge for a lot of people, but we have all done our best and we have serviced our clients and done everything we can. But I do feel that a lot of people can't wait to just change the scenery a bit, even if they're a bit wary. They would just like to go somewhere this summer that is not their own home,
Yeah.
basically.
True, that is, yes.
So July and August, until hopefully schools all return full blast, we still are booking UK breaks just for people that might not be comfortable to travel abroad, but they are actually Sorry, that distracted me because I saw the comment. Oh, that's nice. Thank
I
you,
was
Dawn.
I was going to start going through some of the comments. So we got welcome Dawn to the Momentous Talk Show for Leading Women. And Dawn is saying Gabriela is absolutely committed to her clients and over delivers. Her passion for business and clients is second to none. And I couldn't
Oh,
agree
thank you.
anymore. That is Dawn. And we've got Helen as well, who has been looking for you all over Facebook. And she just found you. So welcome to the Momentous Talk Show and thank you for joining. So yes, over to you, Gabriela. Just really going through again, some of the things you were giving us as pointers. If you can just carry on.
Yeah, sure. So I think in terms of travel counselors as a community, something that makes us very, very different and unique is also the power of teaming up. So we are all global travel experts, but of course we can't know everything for everywhere in the world. That would just probably not be possible. But as and when we get an inquiry that we require really, really tailor-made advice for, not only we have the support of all our suppliers and head office staff, we have the power of the travel counselors community. So I will give an example that I had recently. So I'm looking into a South Africa trip for some clients for next year. They are looking to go to rugby to the Lions game in Cape Town next July, and they want to get a really luxury experience, business class flights. They're looking to go as two families, so seven people in total, and they're looking to get the safari experience, the game, of course, probably just for the couple of guys. I think the rest of them are staying home. That's what they said anyway. And then they're looking to also get a beach break. So we're looking to put together a really tailor-made plan for them. And through the power of Travel Counselors community, not only have I spoken to our suppliers for South Africa, but I have spoken to at least 2 South African travel counsellors. So they know South Africa, of course, as the back of their hand. They know what the weather is like at the end of July, exactly the best lodges, exactly the perfect suggestions that we can make to our clients. So through the power of this collaboration, we are completely different. The other thing that is really good, having that family, the travel counselors family, and it sounds really soppy, but it's very true, because we all support each other when times are very good, but also when times are hard. We can team up. So sometimes for a corporate travel account, for an example, they might find the idea of handing over their $500,000 business in terms of travel expenses to a travel counselor. They might find that a little bit daunting, and that's absolutely understandable at a first glance. So what we do is we explain really well how we work. We discuss their travel needs. We discuss their SLAs, so their service level agreements, their expectations. How quickly would they need a quote? How quickly do they need everything to be turned around? How quickly should we reply to each email? Everything is discussed into a lot of detail, after which we decide if that account needs a team of travel counselors. So as much as we are independent owners, we team up. So especially for bigger accounts, that is absolutely amazing, and it's something that you couldn't do running your own business otherwise.
Exactly. And just going back then, Gabs, I'm going to ask you this question. So what is your story behind travel counselors? Have you always been? Did you go into travel and tourism? What's the story behind you joining travel counselors, if I may ask?
Sure, yes. It's a match made in heaven, I would say. Again, with the risk of sounding really soppy. And our hashtag is actually better together, which funnily enough was my hi Jacqueline, which funnily enough was my song at my wedding, Better Together, Jack Johnson.
Okay,
one of the songs at our first dance, and after that I joined travel council, so it was quite funny.
Wow.
So personally, I've started my travel career when I was 15. Really, that's the way I look at it, because I went to an economics high school that specialised in travel and tourism. And then I continued at university doing the same thing. And then I stayed in hospitality and travel until now, really. So in terms of running my own travel counsellors business, I have been looking into it for the past, let's say, 5 years.
Wow.
From when my daughter was born, and I was looking for something a bit more flexible as well, of course, with the home working and so on. Now, of course, it has to be the right decision for you at the right time in your life and in your career. But I took the plunge exactly about a year ago. On the 10th of July, it will be a year ago.
Wow.
And I had the meeting with travel counsellors where we discussed the potential of me joining. Now, I was actually part of a company that was a supplier for travel counsellors for the previous 2 years. So I was a business development manager, UK and Europe, going to train travel agents.
Wow.
So I was actually training travel counsellors. So I saw them from the other side.
Wow.
And I love them. And every time I would meet travel counsellors or the head office staff, I almost thought it was a bit too good to be true. I'll be honest, because everyone was so enthusiastic and dedicated and just really driven, basically. And eventually I made the decision to go for it myself. So I officially launched end of October last year. But I've been in travel forever. My parents actually run their own bed and breakfast back in Romania. It's actually called Villa Gabriela because it's a family business.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful.
And now, of course, heading into retirement, but I was there helping them when I was at university with it. And also my parents have always more or less run their own businesses. So I think I've always liked the entrepreneurship behind it.
And certainly, you know, and I can see that obviously it's something that you're passionate about and it oozes through you. You don't have to ask, you know. I know I texted you on a Saturday and absolutely, you know, you were able to just respond straight away. Again, you know, it's because you're passionate about what you do. And I just wanted to really get to understand the story behind it. So this entrepreneurial is actually something you're born with, born into it. And it's amazing to see, Gabs. And really, I'm really intrigued. So, you know, just going back then, I know I've seen somewhere where you talked about joining travel counsellors as a business, because unfortunately, not everyone's going to come out of the COVID-19 situation with a job. Unfortunately, some people are going to be losing their jobs due to, you know, companies closing down, due to redundancies. And some people may be also thinking about starting their own business, and, you know, they may particularly have an interest in travel, or they may like the flexibility of working from home. So can you talk us through joining, you know, the opportunities available at travel counsellors?
Definitely, yes. And as we always say when we start this type of conversation with anyone, we make it as confidential as possible. So, of course, most people are still employed when they are having these conversations. That's the reality. You probably have these conversations for quite a while before you decide to actually go for it. It is a leap of faith. You can't put it any other way, as much as you do have to be very prepared. So there are two sides of it. As travel counsellors and head office recruitment and so on, we always advise people to try and have at least 6 months worth of salary available, so as savings and so on, just so for the first 6 months of your business you don't focus on the fact that you are struggling to pay the bills, because obviously that would just be really stressful. You'd focus on business development, on networking, on establishing relationships with head office, with other travel counsellors, with suppliers, learning a lot about our systems, our suppliers, destinations knowledge. So then 6 months down the line, you are really, really launched, and you know, you have clients, obviously, hopefully by that point, really, really running smoothly. While, of course, the first 6 months is just you adapt to it and so on. Some people might have a clientele already, so we had people that already had, you know, a full database in terms of they have so many friends, family, ex-colleagues. They might always travel, and as soon as they launched, they came to them for business, and of course that is amazing. But realistically, it takes a while to build it up. And I've done this very successfully through BNI, and I would love to mention them today because BNI is Business Networking International, and through our best friend Steve Brightson and also Martin Ridewood, who is the area director. So Steve Brightson is our director consultant, and Martin is our area director. We have built up a BNI group from scratch.
Wow.
So we started talking about it last September. We had our first meeting in December. We got 12 members by lockdown. And then between lockdown starting and now, we have grown to 20 members.
Wow.
All through Zoom meetings, all through no face-to-face networking. So if anyone says that online networking doesn't work, they're probably not in the right group.
Yeah, correct.
And BNI is the perfect platform for myself personally, and also for other people, because it's all based on referrals. So it's all based on who do you know, like, trust, and you refer business to them.
Wow.
And that is the best way, in my opinion, to get inquiries, you know, a lot more successful than advertising or, you know, trying to do it through other methods. As soon as someone recommends and refers, you know that they are a really great potential client, and they know you are a great agent to work with them.
And I couldn't agree with you more, Gabriela. Thank you so much for sharing that. You know, so kudos to BNI, kudos to Steve Bridson and everyone involved. And I think, you know, I couldn't agree with you more, because a lot of what I'm doing now, you know, I've seen the fruits of networking, and yourself meeting yourself has all been through networking and through that same BNI group. Is it the Apollo group?
Yes, BNI Apollo, Milton Keynes. Based in Stony Stratford, but yes, Milton Keynes.
Absolutely. So are you looking for any, I know we talk about travel counselors, but are you looking for any, just drop that in here, if you're looking for any other, you know, specialty businesses to come in? Are you looking for any particular businesses to join you in BNI at the moment?
Yes, we have a full list. So the best thing to do would be for everyone to add me on LinkedIn. So you have my name just under my my image, Gabriela Rogati-Pinches. So if you add me on LinkedIn, then we can have a chat. We are looking for quite a few categories still. For people that don't know, BNI is exclusive, so just one category per trade. So if there is a travel agent like myself, there are no travel agents in that group, so it is all exclusive. In terms of people, that going back to that question around people being made redundant, so obviously it is very sad and so on. I'd say again, just add me on LinkedIn. Let's have a chat. We are always as honest as possible. We never try to give a sales pitch of joining if that is not right for you. It has to be a really personal decision. But if you do take that leap of faith, we give you all the support we can through mentoring, through the other travel counselors in the network, through head office support and training, development, and so on.
So in regards to joining in then, is there a startup capital required, or is it a business that you can start, you know, from as little as £10, or, you know, what is the investment there? Is that something you can share with us on here?
Yeah, so what I can say, without giving exact figures necessarily, but they are quite low in comparison to other franchises. So, you know, it wouldn't be a secret. We have currently two types of joining methods. So one is if you do join from the travel industry. So if you are currently working in the travel industry and you are looking to move across and launch your own business through travel counselors, that is of course the easiest route in. Let's put it this way, and therefore the joining fee is tiny. is very, very small. It doesn't even cover for the laptop and the printer and all the resources. If you do a return to travel, The return to travel is obviously a little bit more. So let's say you were in travel before, then you moved into another industry, and now you're rejoining from there. The fee is a little bit higher, but still very, very affordable. I think the main investment, and we also run Travel Counsellors Academy, which I know at the moment is maybe on hold, or not necessarily our priority, because we know there will be lots of people coming from the industry. So with the investment, I'd say the biggest investment is having those first 6 months of salary, of savings, because you need to just not focus on that side if you can. Just focus on how you build up your business. And like I said, you could have an account or loyal clients from week one, or it might take you a little while to build it up. It really depends on your individual networks, on your individual personality, style of work, and so on.
Wow, amazing. And thank you so much for sharing that with us, Gabriela. And if you're watching the Momentous Talk Show for Leading Women, I'm talking to global travel expert Gabriela, and she's sharing with us on some of the work that she does with working with groups, to individual, couples, corporate, and personal travel, and giving us insights in some of the options available right now, going forward, because obviously we have been in the lockdown. A lot of people are itching for travel, but they may be wondering what other options are available. And we talked about some of those local opportunities available for you to travel, like cottages, that you can possibly look at doing instead of going abroad.
From tomorrow.
From tomorrow. And I will be one of the first people to be taking that leap of faith. And
my inbox tonight, I think, will have lots of UK inquiries. But can I just quickly add, Mo? So you mentioned groups, and obviously I'm aware that we didn't actually talk about groups just yet, but it's a great passion of mine. So personally, I brand myself as a corporate and groups travel counsellor, but of course I service leisure inquiries as well. What I want to say in terms of groups, I used to be a groups B2B travel consultant for 6 years. So I absolutely love groups. Most people are really worried when they hear about a group. So groups are anything from 10 people plus. Business class, they tend to be 6 people plus. For cruises, they tend to be 16, 18 people. So it's a little bit different across the board. But we service leisure groups. So anything, a family, group of friends going away, sports groups, religious groups, choirs, wellness groups. They're becoming really popular at the moment. And on the other hand, we do corporate groups. So anything to do with work travel, whether it is a board meeting, a Christmas party, an event that you're looking to organise, an incentive for your top sellers just to reward your staff because they've done such a great job. Conferences, we could do conferences of up to, well, we haven't got a limit really, but we did our own conference all in-house last year for 2,000 people. So everything from A to Z in terms of even the delegate registration online and lanyards and everything. Of course, catering, all the organisation, speakers, everything.
So I'm going to ask you then, I mean, just talking about groups and thinking about having 5 me's just is challenging to try and make me happy. I'm thinking if you had 15, what is the most challenging of managing a group, and what do you find the most, rewarding for you? If you can give me the other side, the advantages and the disadvantages.
So organising a group, yes, it definitely has pros and cons. But again, the pros massively outweigh the cons. When we work with a group, we tend to work with a group leader. So if you did have a group of 15 looking to do, for an example, a wellness break, or if it was an incentive organised by a company, you would only tend to work with one contact person. just purely so the information is all streamlined. And whether that contact person was the actual group leader. So, for example, if it's a sports group, it could be the coach, the sports coach that is in charge of everything. If it's a corporate company, it could be the PA or the VA or the office manager and so on. We tend to deal with them and we get all the details resolved directly with them. So what they have to do on their side is, of course, manage the expectations of their own group. That's pre-travel, of course. In terms of when they travel, we have different ways. So, of course, our suppliers can offer help in resort, and we could offer guides and so on, entirely how the group would like that to happen. But in terms of how the event or certain groups run, we can also travel with them. So we could go as a travel manager or an events manager, or literally depending on their requirements. So we have travel counselors sometimes traveling with groups, whether it is their own clients or it's a client of theirs that has organized a group and they travel with them, and of course help them when they're in resorts or when they're at destination. Of course, it's not always smooth sailing, but that can equally happen with one client or with 15. So you just deal with it in the best possible way, as you would always. So if there is a problem, I'm a big believer that as long as you deal with the problem in a really good way, that actually gets you kudos a lot. So,
and I think really that's so true. And I like that uniqueness about the service, that if you're actually traveling as a group, you can actually have or request the service of one of the travel counselors to go with you as a group and help you with discussions and other things that you may want to do. And I think that's the unique thing about what you're providing compared to travel agents, because I don't think they would provide that service. So, which is really good to hear. So going back again, what advice would you give to our viewers today, anyone listening around travel, coming from yourself as a global travel expert? What advice would you give?
my very helpful PA here, my husband,
yes,
has just written down for me that we have just got, and look, you couldn't have timed this better, could you? We have just got news of a list of 59 countries.
Wow, amazing. Should we just go through them then? So
I mean, obviously this is hot news just coming in, but apparently, obviously this needs to be double checked. Not that I don't trust my PA.
but basically, in a nutshell, what is the news? So the live news is
a few of them. A few of them are apparently Germany, Australia, Greece, Spain, Italy, Croatia, Turkey, France, New Zealand, Poland. But of course, I'm sure the list of 59 countries is
amazing.
Okay. So, yeah, under the lifted restrictions, passengers from the approved countries, which will be kept under constant review, will still be required to provide contact information on arrival in England. Yeah. Anyway, so thank you. My very helpful PA.
I suppose for you, that's a great news, from your side. And obviously for any viewers watching, this is something to rejoice about. So what does that mean for us? If we want to travel to one of those 59 countries, what does that mean for us?
I will still have to research it myself, because obviously it's so new that the correct answer is I don't know exactly.
Yes.
As soon as for anyone that is on the news right now, of course they can pull the article up, and hopefully the government announcement will be clear. We will of course get advice from head office straight away as well, I'm sure. And what we also have that actually we didn't mention in the conversation earlier, we have a duty office that is 24/7. Okay. So even when, let's say, we are available 24/7, but let's say if I'm not available, the duty office is available 24/7. What they tend to do as well is they always monitor international situations. So we are always the first to find out, even before our clients find out. But again, yeah, I'm sure they will fill us in exactly on the rules around this. But I think ultimately the message is, if you look at that list and you have been waiting for this, and now you just get confirmation that one of the countries that you wanted to go to is
Mhm.
on the list, then of course you can start actually planning your travels with us, whether they are for as immediate as July, August, and so on, for the summer holidays, or whether it is for Christmas. I have clients waiting for Christmas break to be booked to Dominican Republic. I'm really hoping it's on the list,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whether you book for South Africa for next year, and so on. And yeah, but it's amazing news. I'm really happy it happened just as we speak.
Amazing. And one of the things I've just highlighted here is we're still awaiting the great news. I think we'll be having,
Yeah,
updates soon, and you can connect with Gabriela on LinkedIn and
yeah,
actually find out what countries you may be able to travel to as soon as that news has been updated from the head office and the government. So
yeah.
that's really great. Thank you, Mr. PA.
I know. I'm very
Amazing.
happy.
Amazing. So then, just in a
Wants a
nutshell,
job. He wants a job, doesn't he, with travel counsellors?
it does, doesn't it? And it's really nice to see that working together, because I think if you're working from home, naturally, your family get to know what you're doing, and you kind of have a team within your own home.
Yeah.
I see that from my daughter. She knows everything about what I'm doing at work, and she's like, "Watch your hands, make sure you're safe when I leave." It's really lovely to see.
I know.
Um,
I said to my daughter that I was organising holidays, and I said a couple of the countries, and she automatically asked me if it was for us. And I said, no, it's for our clients.
so you got a little travel counsellor member there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But
Amazing.
I have to give kudos to my husband now. Not only is he a very helpful PA, but being on furlough, of course, he is on board with helping with the children and so on, and that has given me the space to focus on my business, which has been brilliant. So
Brilliant.
I'm sure a
Yeah.
lot of people sympathise in the working from home.
Kudos to your husband. So, on behalf of the Momentors, we just thank him for being the great supporter. That's really lovely to hear. So, just then, just your final words to the viewers today, Gabriela. What do you have to say to our viewers? Any last words, positive words for us?
Yeah, a really interesting saying that says that travel is one of those things that you pay for that actually makes you richer. So I believe in that a lot, and ultimately it is a very happy industry, which is the other reason why we love it. And we always organise everything from A to Z. We love taking that stress away, and we love helping people ultimately. So whether it is for leisure travel, whether it is for corporate, that is what we love doing best. So I always think, just let the experts do what they love doing best, and I apply that to everything else. If it's a great designer, you give it to the designer. If it's a great VA, you give it to the VA, rather than trying to do everything yourself.
Exactly. And I must say thank you so much. And I'll just quote that the last words from Gabriela is travel is one of the things you pay for, but that makes you richer. I like that actually. But having said that, it's one of the things I'm learning, Gabriela, that actually if you're a travel expert, and why should I not just engage you and get you to do what you do best? And it's about really allowing people to support you in that way. And I think that's the way we need to learn to do things, to become leaders in what we do, because we only can be the best in what we're good at. We can't be the best in everything. So it's one of the things I'm learning and applying, which gives me so much pleasure to know that I can just press a button and get my holidays booked.
Pretty much through our wonderful MyTC app.
Lovely, yes. And so tell us about the app. So you've got this app that, obviously, if you're looking to book with travel counselors, if you're looking to engage Gabriela, it's not, it's quite safe, because then you're just able to download this app and make that payment. Once everything's ready, you can
Yeah.
actually just download it and make the payment. Can
Yes,
you
yeah.
say anything more about the app just to give
Yeah,
reassurance?
so actually the app is just an amazing tool because even a quote level, I mean, I try not to necessarily scare my clients from the word go, but you know, I always do the quotes first, and then when it comes to the payment, I tell them to download the app, and then we send the secure payment link, so you make the payment all through that. You know, your credit card details are safe and no one gets to see them, rather than manual payments and so on. But with the app going forward, from future contact, I always send the quotes via the app as well. You can do that from the first contact. I personally just prefer to do it after people get the first booking, because they have that relationship with me, so they know. So from the second booking, you could send the quotes via the app. People love looking on their device and just looking on their iPad or on their phone, and it's as easy as literally you can click the word book. You know, just click on book and you can book it. But I think the best bit about it is, especially for people like you, right, so you will have leisure and business travel in the future, and you could see in the app everything coming up, and it will tell you how many days you have until you go on your cruise, how many days you have until you go on your business meeting in Cyprus, and so on. And also you have all the documentation you need in the app.
Wow,
So
that's
it
amazing.
saves you so much time. You don't need to call us or ask, or which hotel am I staying at?
Yeah,
It's just
lovely.
all that. Yeah.
I hadn't actually gone in. I just went in to do my secure payment
Yeah.
for my, and it was
But
really nice to know that I don't have to ring you up with my card details and give them on the
yeah,
phone. You know, it's really lovely to know that you can actually use a
yeah.
secure link, and it's really good. So I like that. And you know, guys, this is the new way of doing things. And as we come out of COVID-19, some of the things that we used to be doing before is certainly going to be changing. And these are some of the things that you can adapt as we go into the new way of doing things. Why don't you just get in touch with Gabriela and let her plan your next holiday or your break? And this is what,
Or your work trip.
or your trip or your group trip, you know, this is the new way of doing things. I'm so excited, and thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
to us today. Thank you for watching the Momentous Talk Show for Leading Women. From myself, Mo, and Gabriela, bye for now.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Hi,